I see it. That hidden battle so many men fight. The shame, the distraction, the feeling of being a puppet on strings, pulled by an invisible master called lust. It can feel like you're wading through mud, trying to get a grip on something that constantly slips through your fingers, draining your energy, your focus, your very will. You've probably tried fighting it, resisting it, maybe even shaming yourself for it. And it's exhausting, isn't it? It feels like an impossible war. But here's something that might sound almost offensive given that struggle. Killing lust, truly dismantling its hold on you, is easy. Actually, it's not about a harder fight. It's about understanding the game differently. And today, we're going to uncover exactly how. So let's talk about this fight. This idea that lust is an enemy to be wrestled into submission. Most of us have been conditioned to think this way. Society, sometimes religion, even our own internal critic tells us to resist, to suppress, to conquer. But what if that very approach is why so many fail? What if fighting lust directly is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline? Think about it. Carl Jung, a man who dived deep into the human psyche, famously said, "What you resist persists. When you pour all your energy into not thinking about something, or not feeling an urge, you're inadvertently giving it more power. You're shining a spotlight on it, keeping it active in your mind. It's like being told, don't think of a pink elephant. What's the first thing that pops into your head? Exactly. This constant battle of willpower is an incredible drain. It consumes mental resources that could be used for building, creating, connecting, for living a life of actual purpose. And let's be honest, how often does sheer willpower win in the long run when it comes to deeply ingrained patterns? It might work for a bit, but eventually a moment of weakness, stress, or boredom comes along, and the suppressed urge can come roaring back, often stronger than before. This isn't a sign of your weakness. It's a sign that the strategy itself is flawed. Before we can understand why dismantling it is easy, we need to understand what lust really is, beyond the simplistic label of a bad desire. At its core, lust, like any drive, is a form of energy. It's a powerful current. Think of fire. It can be destructive, yes, but it can also provide warmth, cook food, power industry. The energy itself isn't inherently evil. The problem arises when this energy becomes misdirected, obsessive, or when it starts to control you, instead of you channeling it. We need to distinguish healthy sexual energy, a natural, creative force, from the kind of compulsive lust that hijacks your mind and your peace. Dr. David Hawkins, in his work on the map of consciousness, calibrated different levels of human consciousness. States like desire, which is where obsessive lust often sits, fear or grief are lower vibrating emotional states. When lust gets entangled with these, for example, using it to escape feelings of inadequacy, fear, or to fill a void of loneliness, grief, or as an insatiable craving, desire at a low level, it becomes a problem. It becomes a symptom of something deeper that's out of balance. The shadow, as Jung and later Jordan Peterson discussed, also plays a role here. The shadow contains the parts of ourselves we deny or repress. Sometimes, uncontrolled lust can be an expression of these unacknowledged parts, seeking an outlet, often in distorted ways. What are you really seeking in those moments of intense craving? Is it genuine connection, validation, a fleeting sense of power or control, an escape from responsibility, or the mundane? If you don't consciously confront what's lurking in your own depths, it will find ways to make itself known. So if fighting is futile, what's the easy path? It's about a fundamental shift in perspective and strategy. It's not about suppression, but about understanding, detachment, and redirection. Step 1. Radical honesty and non-judgment. This is crucial. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge, but this acknowledgement must come without the usual self-flagellation. As Peterson often implies, you must be willing to confront the chaos, the dragon within yourself, but with an attitude of discovery, not condemnation. So, the next time lust arises, instead of immediately tensing up and fighting it or wallowing in shame, just notice it. Acknowledge its presence internally. There is that sensation, that thought pattern we call lust. That's it. No judgment, no story, just a plain observation. This creates a little bit of space. Step 2. Detachment and observation. The witnessing consciousness. This flows from the first step. Hawkins' work on letting go is incredibly powerful here. The core idea is that you are not your thoughts or your emotions. You are the witness, the observer of these phenomena as they pass through your awareness. Lust in this context is just a set of sensations, thoughts, and images. It's not you. It doesn't define who you are. When it arises, practice observing it as if you were a scientist looking at a peculiar weather pattern. Notice its intensity, its flavor, how it feels in your body, the stories it tries to tell your mind. But don't become it. Don't identify with it. Imagine these urges are clouds drifting through the vast sky of your awareness. You are the sky, not the clouds. The clouds come and go. The sky remains. This detachment is a game changer. It starves the lust of the energy it needs, your identification with it. Step 3. Understand the root cause. What's really driving it? This is where you use that detached observation to get curious. Ask yourself, what triggers this? Am I bored, lonely, stressed, feeling powerless or insignificant? Am I avoiding a difficult task or emotion? Often, intense lust isn't really about sex itself, but a symptom of deeper unmet needs or an escape from an unfulfilling reality. Jordan Peterson talks extensively about the importance of meaning and responsibility. A life devoid of genuine purpose can easily become a breeding ground for compulsive behaviors as we try to fill that internal void with fleeting pleasures. What are you using lust to medicate? Be brutally honest with yourself here. Perhaps keep a journal. Note down when the urges are strongest and what else is going on in your life or in your mind at those times. You might start seeing patterns. Step 4. Transmutation and redirection. Channeling the energy. Remember, lust is energy, and energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed or redirected. Once you're not identifying with it, and you have some insight into its roots, you can consciously choose to channel that raw power into something constructive. This is where having a strong sense of purpose, a mission, as Coach Corey Wayne often emphasizes for men, becomes paramount. When you are deeply engaged in meaningful work, creative pursuits, your physical health, you mentioned the gym, physical activity, excellent outlets, or building something significant, there's simply less room and less need for that energy to curdle into obsession. This isn't about distracting yourself in a superficial way. It's about investing that potent life force energy into activities that align with your higher values and goals. It's the difference between damming a river, suppression, which often leads to floods, and building hydroelectric channels that harness its power for good. Step 5. Raise your baseline state. Elevate your consciousness. This is a longer-term strategy, but perhaps the most powerful. Again, drawing from Hawkins, as you consciously cultivate higher states of being, courage, acceptance, reason, love, peace, the appeal and power of lower energy obsessions naturally diminish. When your life is generally fulfilling, when you're operating from a place of integrity, purpose, and genuine self-worth, the frantic chase for fleeting, low-level highs like those promised by unchecked lust simply loses its glamour. It starts to feel, well, a bit boring, a bit beneath you. How do you do this? By consistently choosing thoughts, actions, and environments that resonate with these higher states. Engage in practices that cultivate inner peace and clarity. Establish that healthy, well-established routine we talked about. Make choices that lead to a clear conscience. This is an active, ongoing process of building a life that naturally crowds out the space for such compulsions. So why is this approach easy, actually? It's easy not because it requires no effort, but because it stops the exhausting, unwinnable war of direct resistance. It's like the difference between trying to push a massive boulder uphill versus finding the lever point that allows you to move it with minimal force. The easiness comes from a shift in perception and strategy. It's about intelligence over brute force. It requires awareness, honesty, and a willingness to engage with yourself on a deeper level. Yes, but it's a path of flow rather than constant friction. The relief and clarity you gain, even from small successes in detaching and observing, create positive feedback, making the process feel lighter and more empowering, not heavier and more draining. Dismantling the hold of lust isn't about becoming some passionless robot. It's about reclaiming your sovereignty, your energy, your focus. It's about ensuring that you are the one in the driver's seat of your life, not some runaway impulse. The path I've outlined, honest acknowledgement, detached observation, understanding the root, redirecting the energy, and elevating your overall state. This is how you do it. This is how it becomes easy, actually. Not effortless, perhaps, but no longer the impossible battle it once seemed. Ultimately, this is part of that larger fight I believe every man should undertake. The fight to have a clear conscience, a healthy and well-established routine, and to do what is necessary to live in the present, in peace. When you are aligned with that purpose, things like obsessive lust find it very hard to take root. Try this approach. Observe what happens. You might be surprised at the power you reclaim.